Hi everyone, I'm David Scranton, and thank you for clicking this video. You know, since it's the start of the new year, today we're talking about ways that you can improve your financial health. So if your goal is to get your finances in shape, this video is for you. And now it's time to bring in today's guest, Anthony Saccaro. He's a lawyer and president of Providence Financial, a retirement income store located just outside of LA. Anthony, as usual, it's always great to have you here with us.
David, thank you for having me. Great to be back.
And so, goal setting, you know, as a business person, I know that you set goals for your business, but being 100% honest with yourself, how good are you at setting personal goals for you and your family?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty good at that too. And I break my goals down into several categories. I break my goals down into physical categories, the spiritual category, to the financial category. So as much as I do in business, I'm also really good at doing that on the personal side as well.
Mm-hmm. Good. So what are the keys then? What are the keys once you set a goal that you find help you in actually achieving those personal goals that you've established?
Well, I think the primary key is to set a goal that you know you can accomplish. And you know, the reality is I personally, my goal setting method, I like to shoot for the stars, because I know that if I'm not going to hit the stars, I'll at least hit the moon. So I tend to set my goals a little more than I can accomplish, but I've been doing this for decades. And so I know my process, but I think you have to know you. It's almost like baby steps. If you've never set goals before, I wouldn't recommend you set a goal, try to hit for the stars, because you'll probably fizzle out before you ever get there. When I first started setting goals, it was small, little baby step goals, and set something that you can hit. And then as you become more mature and you do it year after year, it becomes more of a habit, and then you can customize it for yourself. So my goals are customized for me based on my psychology.
Now, in your experience, even when you help your clients set personal financial goals, what are some of the things that you think get in their way that maybe hurt their chances of achieving those goals? Maybe things that people watching this should try to avoid if they do want to hit their goals for 2022.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's gotten in the way of me is setting a goal that is way too far out of reach. Now, this was especially in the early days, when I would set maybe a weight loss goal of, you know, I'm gonna lose, 8 pounds a month, and in order to lose 8 pounds a month, you pretty much got to quit eating, and that's not something that I was willing to do. So, I have a goal this year to lose some more weight. I've already lost a good chunk, but it's within my realm. And what will stop people dead in their tracks is exactly that: setting a goal that's not attainable, and setting a goal that after they fail once or twice, then they just give up. And you don't want to put yourself in that position to where you're going to fail. If you do fail, you got to mentally flip the switch and start over. But having a goal is the first step in the process. And most people don't even get to that step. Set a goal first so that it gives you something to move towards.
All right, so I got to put you on the spot because, of course, you're very familiar with the acronym SMART and SMART goals. So goals have to be specific, they have to be measurable. So you said your goal is to lose a little bit more weight this year, but that's not specific and measurable. So give us a number. I want all of our viewers to help Anthony Saccaro, help hold him accountable to this goal for 2022. What's the number that you realistically would like to shed in terms of LBs in 2022?
Absolutely. And I don't have a problem doing that, making a commitment. I actually just gave the numbers on my own podcast last week that I did.
Okay, nice.
So the reality is just by way of background, I was actually at 285 at one point. I'm 5'10", so it's pretty big. I was at 285 at one point. I am now at 239. My goal is 199, which kind of makes it easy because that is a 40-pound loss, which at 4 pounds a month takes me 10 months. And if I've got a couple of bad months in there, then I will have that off by the end of the year. So my goal is to go from 239 to 199 by the end of the year. That's my goal. And that will happen, by the way. That's not just a goal that won't happen. That's a goal that will happen. And I've been losing weight for some years now, so I know what I can and what I can't do. And I know what sacrifices I am willing to make and what sacrifices I am not willing to make.
Well, I know you well enough that when you put your mind to something, you'll do it. So we will see the sub 200-pound Anthony Saccaro a year from now. I am convinced. But let's Let's switch it to money. Let's talk to our income generation for a moment. Income investors. Do you think 2022 is going to bring more challenges than opportunities for income investors, or maybe vice versa?
Well, I think it's going to be a tough year all the way around. And yet, when you look at the different opinions out there and the different guesses out there, the reality is that it's all over the place. You had a guest on your show, Harry Dent, recently that was talking about 2022 being the worst year that's ever going to have occurred in the stock market. He was talking like 80, 90% drop. I don't agree with that. I don't think that that's going to happen, but it's out there. There are people saying we're going to have a rough 2022. On the other hand, I know recently you predicted maybe a 8 or 10% growth, I think is what you had said. And there's a lot of other people. I heard another analyst the other day talking about 8 or 10% growth in the S&P 500 this year. And so it's all over the board. What I think is going to happen is I don't think we're going to have another year like 2021 or like 2020. I don't think that's going to duplicate itself. I think that we're going to have a correction in there. Could be 15, 20% correction, maybe as high as 25%. But I think that it's going to rebound just as quick as the last correction happened. So I think we have a correction and then a rebound. I think that correction will be a buying opportunity. The challenge is how the Federal Reserve handles that. I think that is the biggest piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle. There's the tax piece. We don't know what the Build Back Better America Act or whatever that thing is called. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know what inflation is going to look like. We don't, and we don't know what the Federal Reserve is going to do. But the Federal Reserve is the biggest piece of that puzzle. And if they take a misstep, they can take a correction, a snowball, and they can turn it into an avalanche. And that's the fear that I think investors have to be careful of, is that we're not out of the woods. As a matter of fact, we're in the middle of the woods at this point with valuations as high as they are. Doesn't mean that there's going to be a major crash, but it's going to be up to the Federal Reserve. They've got to be careful on how they handle their language and how they handle how quickly they quit tapering and raise interest rates.
You said build back better. I think you meant to say build back bankrupt plan. Was that, did you misspeak for a moment there?
Yeah, build back bankrupt. Yeah, adding another $2 trillion of debt or whatever that amount is, just ridiculous at this point. We're approaching $30 trillion of debt now. It's amazing.
I know. All right, so hey, number one piece of advice for people that are part of the income generation, they're retired or within 10 or 15 years of retirement, whose goals are really retirement income planning. What's your number one piece of advice for those people watching that video right now at the beginning of 2022?
Set one. Number one piece of advice is set a goal. That what you have to understand, I think, earlier you had asked me what's the number one thing that derails people. I think not setting a goal or not setting a flexible goal. Any goal that you do also has to be flexible. But if I'm going to drive from California to Florida, I'm going to pull out the roadmap or the GPS on the phone, and I'm going to have a basic idea of what direction I'm going. But I know that as I start to make this trip across the country, there's going to be road closures, there's going to be accidents, there's going to be delays, a number of things are going to happen. I cannot wait until all the lights turn green to start making this trip. But the fact that I have a goal, I'm 90% of the way there, and then I can adjust along the way. And so set a goal as to what you need to do. Make sure that your goal with your finances is flexible enough and will accomplish your purpose regardless of what the market does. If you're invested in such a way to where you can only retire if the market does well, or you can only start getting your income if the market keeps growing. If your retirement and your capability or your ability to do whatever your goals are, if that is dependent on what the market does, you're invested wrong. You should be invested in such a way to where no matter what the market does, you're going to be able to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish, your goals. So set a goal and make sure it's flexible enough.
Great piece of advice. Not enough people talk about that flexibility component. But you're right. If you don't go in with that mindset and then all of a sudden you get a curveball, people oftentimes just throw up their hands and give up on the entire goal. And of course, that's the equivalent of getting halfway across the country, having a road closure, and turning around and heading back. So as usual, great words of wisdom, Anthony. Anthony Saccaro, thanks so much.
Thank you, Dave. Great to be here.
Thank you for watching today's video. 20 tips to improve your financial health in 2022. If you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up button to give us a like, and also make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel for new content each and every week.